Thank you, Rohit. So we're going to begin. First of all, thanks everyone that's here, and welcome to this webinar we're having for synergies between India and Peru in education and health services, organized by INCHAM Perú, the Indian Embassy to Peru, and the Services Export Promotion Council. We have a list of very distinguished speakers. I would everyone that's here to shut down their microphones if they're not speaking at the time, please, just to not have any interference with the sound. And we're going to have 5 minutes per presentation per panelist, and some time for questions and answers. So we're going to begin now with some welcoming words from Mr. Manik Davar. He's chairman of the Services Promotion Council. He's got over 38 years experience in print journalism and publishing, and has written for and worked with major Indian newspapers and magazines, the Times of India, Indian Express, Statesman. He's also the chairman and managing director of Spenta Multimedia. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I first thank the Ambassador of India to Peru and Bolivia and all involved with this hosting this webinar. In the short term that I have been chairman of the of SEPC, this is the furthest that we have reached out to, and it's a pleasure to be with you virtually in South America. Would have loved to be there in person, but I guess we will have to do. The services exports, as you know, from India is about $250 billion export. A large of it is ITES, about $85 billion. And the rest are in all services sectors, including the 12 champion services sectors, which the government of India has identified and which the government of India is promoting very strongly. Now, India and services, India is known for its intellectual capacity, and services are an expression of that capacity internationally all over the world. We are today dealing with two sectors, health and education, and some of the best doctors in the world, medical personnel in the world are Indians, and some of the best educationists and even deans of universities like Harvard are Indians. So India does have a huge intellectual capability. Both these sectors that we are talking about, the medical tourism as well as education, also require a lot of physical infrastructure. In the country, and private entrepreneurs have made huge investments in this sector. I mean, the best hospitals and the best universities today are private universities offering a level of education and a level of healthcare which is comparable to the best in the world. The only issue, I guess, that we would have as far as Peru and Bolivia is concerned is a matter of distance and how do we bridge that distance. Every time that I'm invited to speak to a webinar, the office prepares a sort of talking points for me to speak about. And all of them have to do with the potential of the subject which I am talking about. As you can understand that, heading an organization which is so diverse in terms of the services which we offer, it really becomes difficult. And every time I tell them, please don't give me these talking points, because our sectoral experts who are going to speak on the subject are very well aware of the potential of India, and our people who attend from all over the world are also quite well aware of the potential of India. So I would leave it to them to talk about the potential that we have as far as the services sector is concerned. Services in India are about 55% of our overall GDP. And services exports, we have positive balance of about $80 billion. So without much ado, I'm going to pass this on back to you, Mr. Castillo, to take this forward. Once again, I welcome this initiative on behalf of SEPC, and I hope that we and our sectoral heads continue to take off from where we will leave today and develop relationships. And maybe when this pandemic is over, and hopefully I'm still around, it will be an opportunity for me to make my first trip to South America. Anyway, thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gao. Now we're going to have a keynote address from the Ambassador of India to Peru and Bolivia, Mr. Mandarapu Subbarayudu. Welcome.
Sir, you are muted.
Sorry, Ambassador, we can't hear you right now. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabriel. Shri Manik Davar, Chairman SEPC, Mr. Rohit Rao, President of INCHAM, speakers, Ms. Sangeeta Saxena, Additional Economic Advisor from Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Vidya Eravdeka, Ms. Upasana Arora, Mr. Arturo Field, Mr. Jorge Antonio Heredia, and participants, Namaste. Good evening to those in India and good morning to participants in Peru. Welcome to all of you. As we seek to explore the synergies in healthcare and educational services, I am glad that SEPC and INCHAM are part of this online interaction. Both are eminent players. Acting as an interface, SEPC promotes services and highlights capabilities of Indian industry abroad. On the other hand, INCHAM is dedicated to promotion of trade and business ties between India and Peru. I commend both of them for their efforts. Also, my thanks to speakers from India and Peru. I'm confident that their insights will help us in unraveling the opportunities. The ongoing pandemic has caused huge disruption. It spared no one and brought out deficiencies and inadequacies in existing methods and models of service delivery. Attempts are underway across the business landscape globally to recover from the devastating impact of the pandemic. Businesses are looking for right technologies and tools to sustain their operations and improve efficiency. Healthcare and education are among the sectors that bore the brunt of the current situation and are witnessing transformation. India has acquired considerable capacities in both the segments of healthcare and educational services to meet its own requirements and demands necessitated by huge population. Several initiatives have been taken to create an ecosystem for strengthening healthcare and education in India. Flagship initiatives like Startup India, Skill India, and Digital India have led to emergence of several health tech and ed tech startups that have potential to help build a workforce that can adopt innovative business models using latest technologies. India, I believe, has the requisite talent, pool, delivery models, and technology. The National Digital Health Mission unveiled by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi seeks to revolutionize the healthcare services by making them accessible to all. Focus is shifting to digitally enabled remote patient-to-doctor or doctor-to-doctor consultations. Telemedicine is emerging as a good alternative. You are aware that the world-class hospitals and skilled medical professionals made India a preferred destination for medical tourism. India is at the forefront of using artificial intelligence for timely treatment of patients and health record maintenance. IoT-enabled systems, hospital management services, medical education services, etc. are areas of cooperation worth pursuing given India's capabilities. India has one of the largest networks of higher educational institutions and e-learning in the world. The transformational reforms in the shape of National Education Policy 2020 have introduced more flexibility to make the education more employment friendly. The new policy aims to build digital infrastructure to drive innovation. Services sector is among the main drivers of Peruvian economy as well. Peru is trying to embrace emerging technologies to optimize services across various fields. As per official reports, Peruvian health system is currently serving about 1,800 people every day through teleconsultation and telemonitoring. Understand that the technological infrastructure needs further development in rural and remote areas. Peru's National Plan of Competitiveness and Productivity identifies providing high-quality economic and social infrastructure, strengthening human capital, and promoting innovation as its main objectives. I do believe there is much to collaborate between the two sides in healthcare and education. To substantiate this, let me share some aspects of institutional support framework between India and Peru. The two countries are negotiating a draft agreement on cooperation in the field of health. It provides for cooperation in a range of areas, including technology, research partnerships, management of hospitals, primary healthcare services networks, ICT in health, including telemedicine, telehealth, electronic medical records, healthcare for dispersed population, epidemiological surveillance, training of human resources, etc. We also have an educational exchange program in place covering among many activities such as joint research, training, twinning between institutions of higher learning, exchange of teaching aids and experts, etc. India offers capacity building support to Peru under its development partnership schemes like the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation ITEC program and grant projects. Close to 450 ITEC alumni in Peru and the India-Peru Center of Excellence in Information Technology established in Lima are some outcomes of India's ongoing assistance. I'm confident that our interaction today will broaden mutual understanding, identify opportunities, and generate fresh ideas for greater engagement between India and Peru. I wish to end by requesting all the industry participants to treat this virtual session as just the beginning and continue your focus on building business partnerships because both India and Peru have a lot to offer each other given their economic potential and inherent strengths. In this combined endeavor, Embassy of India is with you all. We are with INCHAM, we are with SEPC, and all of you who mean a lot in our joint journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for that keynote. Now we're going to have some welcoming remarks from Mr. Rohit Rao, President of the Peru India Chamber of Commerce, INCHAM. You have the floor, Mr. Rao.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. A great ambassador, Dr. Subbarayudu, a chairman from India, Ms. Aurora, Dr. Avidya, Arturo, Jorge, and also Enrique was all present here. And definitely a great friend from India, Abhay, who has been an old friend of Peru, who's been coming here. I'm sure very soon he'll be coming here as soon as the flights are open. Mr. Ambassador, you rightly said, Peru and India are basically, we are quite similar in a lot of things to do. No? There are a lot of interactions happening. Health sector definitely is going to be very important. Education is going to be very important. And let's not forget entertainment. Basically today, the Indian Bollywood, the Indian systems of music, the Indian is really catching up a lot. So today, as before the session started, I was just talking about that we are social animals. We need social things to happen. Health and education definitely is going to be very important. But let's not forget entertainment also. No, so Abhay, you can inform your people in India. It's going to play a very, very important part. In today, basically, we cannot go out to play football, to play any other. So people are stuck to this entertainment sector, which a lot of youngsters and a lot of elderly people want to interact each other, see how we can play, how we can do things. And India is really going very far ahead in this, So let's keep Peru as a hub for Latin America. Let's keep Peru a part of Spanish hub, where we can develop things together on all the platform. Many small countries nearby depend on Peru for their services in all the sectors, not only in these small sectors, in service sectors for mining, service sectors for industry, service sectors for mold making. So the service sector, as you rightly informed, it's a huge sector which has got no limits. So let's keep our minds and eyes open to see any sector that we can do services on all sides. We as INCHAM, a multilateral chamber of commerce, which we have a lot of connections with India and Latin American chambers. INCHAM, luckily this next 2 years is the president. We are presenting the Latin Indian Chamber of Commerce, where we are including Mexico, Colombia, Chile, Peru, which is and Brazil, which is a very important, where we can definitely be part of any bridge that you need for getting to Latin America. So please use us. Don't mistreat us, but use us anytime when you need, and we are here to help everybody. Thank you very much, Gabriel. I give back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Now we have a very special panel of speakers to paint a picture of what the opportunities are between India and Peru for education, for health. Just a few reminders before we begin. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we're going to have time to address them later on. We're going to start now with the presentations. So first, we're going to have a presentation on the educational services in India from Dr. Vidya Yerabdekar. Dr. Yerabdekar is the Principal Director of Symbiosis Society, which encompasses the Symbiosis Schools, College of Arts and Commerce, and institutions under the Symbiosis International University. She is also the Pro-Chancellor of Symbiosis International University. She holds a postgraduate degree in medicine, a degree in law, and a PhD in the internationalization of higher education in India. And it's worth mentioning, she has been ranked number 14 amongst India's top 25 powerful women by Fame India magazine. So, welcome, Doctor. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Your Excellency, Shri Subbarayudu, the Chairman of SEPC, Mr. Manik Davar, the DG Abhay Sinhaji, Mr. Rao, my colleague Upasana ji, and other colleagues and members on this panel, and the audience. It gives me great pleasure to be invited to speak on education, and I will limit my talk to higher education and not really school education. Though, of course, the Symbiosis Society, which is the parent organization of the university that I represent, the Symbiosis International University, does have K-12 schools as well. But when we talk about international collaborations, we limit our discussions to higher education. A little bit about the Indian higher education. We all know that the Indian higher education is one of the largest, in fact, the third largest higher education system in the world, with almost 1,000, specifically 993 universities now, and over 50,000 colleges spread across the length and breadth of the country. we have about 3.7 crores, which is 37 million students in the higher education sector, and our gross enrollment ratio, which means the students out of 100 who actually reach higher education, is about 26, and we aim that the gross enrollment ratio would be reaching 30 by 2023. We all know about the ancient history of the Indian higher education. We had universities like Takshashila and Nalanda that attracted scholars from all over the world, including other universities like Vikramshila, etc. And post-independence, of course, there was a little lull on the whole internationalization of higher education. But recently, since the last decade, I would say that this impetus on internationalization of higher education has increased again. More so after 1991, when the LPG movement or the liberalization and globalization happened. That's when even the Indian universities started looking at how globalization would impact the curriculum and all that we do in our colleges and universities. And that's when we actually started discussing internationalization of higher education. As I said that earlier, we had a large number of foreign students who came to study in Indian universities, but again, the numbers decreased, and today we are just at 47,000 international students from about 165 countries. That number is very, very low as compared to the Indian higher education system, and we all know in India that this number needs to grow. Presently, the students who come to India come from neighboring countries, majorly from the West Asia, Southeast Asia, and of course Africa. We do have students who come from Europe and from the US, but they come for short-term programs. We have very, very few students coming from Latin American countries, and we hope that this number increases after this dialogue and after the efforts of Mr. Rohit Roy and the Indian Embassy in Peru. I'm so glad that actually we're talking about a South-South cooperation when we're discussing education and health. And for me personally, I'm a medical doctor by training, not by profession, of course. Now I'm a professional educationist. But having done my MD in obstetrics and gynecology from the Government Medical College and now into higher education, I feel it's really nice that SEPC thought of including health and education for discussion today. Going back to higher education, collaborations are the need of the hour. I mean, especially this pandemic has taught us one thing, that we cannot really exist as silos or exist just as independent entities, whether we are a nation or whether we are universities and colleges. And therefore, international collaborations between not just universities, but between people, specifically between students, is something that is going to help the world, is going to help our youth becoming global citizens. And therefore, we are looking at now with this dialogue, whether we can open up these collaborations which can strengthen not just the student mobility part that may happen, of course, later once the pandemic is over, faculty mobility, but more importantly, internationalization of minds. I think what is more important is the interculturalism that we talk about when we talk about internationalization. How many of Indian students really know about Peru? Leave alone Indian students, how many of Indian citizens know about a country called Peru? Not many. In fact, today when I was invited to speak at this webinar, even I had to Google on Peru, and I had to Google on higher education systems in Peru and so on, being in the higher education system. So I think it is more important for us to actually bring countries together and bring people from these countries together. And what better way than universities and colleges to get these young minds together through student mobility. So I think this session is actually going to open up a new dimension where Peruvian students will be able to come travel to Indian universities, and so would Indian students want to go. Of course, the distance is so huge that, there is, you have a morning there when we say good morning to you all, and you all are, wishing us good evening when it's almost night here. But nevertheless, I think we need to look at how collaborations can be strengthened. This is part one. The second is, of course, not just students, but how do we increase the faculty mobility? I mean, unless faculty travel from one university to the other, from one country to the other, strong collaborations do not happen. And third, of course, is the research collaborations, which Mr. Rao just spoke about. And this is what we need to strengthen. I think problems are the same in any country. How do we come together to find solutions through research networks is most important. And I think this pandemic has been, of course, a dangerous and a disastrous one, but what it has taught us is interdependence. What it has taught us is collaborations. And therefore, I think bringing university students and faculty together is something that has really opened new vistas, so that we will look at how we can come together for joint research, for joint teaching, etc. The ambassador just spoke about the ITech program, and I will not go into the details of the program, but certainly use of technology to bring in again students together and faculty together is something that both countries need to look at. For students who cannot travel this distance, or just cannot afford to travel that far, I think online education is the best medium. E-learning is the best medium. And something that is now spoken about is COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning. We practice this at our university, at the Synergies International University, where we have several collaborative partners from Europe, where we actually have a co-teaching done by two faculty members from two different universities and students sitting virtually from two different universities. Can we think of these collaborations immediately between Peruvian universities and Indian universities? Because that's really easy and not very difficult. And this can actually bring in faculty and students closer and faster than actually looking at students and faculty traveling after the pandemic is over. So let us look at whether we can start with co-teaching through online and e-learning modes of education. The second is, can we identify some problems, some research problems at both sides, at both countries, where faculty members can start working together, again online, again through these online platforms, so that at least that will bring faculty together to find solutions to problems that could be of similar nature. So I think let us begin by bringing faculty and students together. Let us begin by using technology, and then we can look at actual mobility of students and faculty. What I would also like to emphasize is the skilling programs. I mean, if you look at the bilateral trade that is happening between India and Peru, I think capacity building is a major responsibility of universities from both sides. So can skilling programs, specifically in technology, of course, ITech program has been covering that, but if a large number of universities take up this mandate of actually developing some skilling programs for specific trades, for specific industries, for specific businesses, I think that will go a long way. And these programs may not be degree programs, but you could even start off with certifications, diplomas, and advanced diplomas, later leading to, of course, degrees. So whether both these universities from both sides can actually look at, there could be some, grade of technology that maybe the Peruvian universities can teach our students, and vice versa, Indian universities teaching them. You spoke, Mr. Rao, about healthcare, and being a doctor myself, I don't want to, of course, tread into what Upasna ji is talking about, but certainly education, I mean, not medical education, but really education, which could be nursing, which could be medical technology, which could be health skills. Can we look at these areas where we can actually come together and think of developing joint programs? So the Indian government, through the new education policy, which has been recently launched on 29 July 2020, is never ever discussed in the past internationalization. But this new education policy, or the National Education Policy 2020, has a whole chapter on internationalization, and they're talking about these kind of collaborations, both at degree programs, both at diploma, certification, and skilling programs. So with this national education policy being rolled out, the carpet is much larger for collaborations between countries, and therefore I think when SEPC has taken this agenda of education and health for the first dialogue between Peru and India, I think using this, the backdrop of the national education policy, both side governments, and specifically the Indian government, the Ministry of Education, will certainly support us. So, I wouldn't want to extend my discussion further, but would like to take in some questions. But I just thought that this is a great beginning of a South-South cooperation. I would just like to end by also adding that recently we have, just started an India chapter of a Spanish organization called Obrial Global, which has partnerships in Latin America, unfortunately not Peru, but other countries of Latin America, Africa, and recently they've just started the India chapter that I chair. Now, can I take this opportunity to extend the Latin American chapter to Peru, and I will speak to Mr. Rao about this and send him a separate mail, so that, that will also open up new vistas of collaboration between Africa, India, and obviously Peru through the Latin American chapter. So there could be several such opportunities. We are planning to establish the Indian Network for Internationalization of Education at the Association of Indian Universities. It has just been approved and we will roll it out soon. Now, this will have some memberships of international organizations. So can your organization, Mr. Rao, be a member on this, so that you can bring in some universities from Peru closer through this network with Indian universities. So there are several such opportunities that can take place in the next a couple of months or years. And I think we should, think of this dialogue as just a beginning of a wonderful collaboration, of a wonderful symbiotic relationship between Peru and India. And we hope that we will be able to get these young minds, specifically the students of both countries, together, so that they become unofficial ambassadors of goodwill for both our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for that very insightful presentation. Now, before we move on to our next speaker, we're going to have some words from Mr. Rohit Rao. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, quickly, Dr. Avidya, just want to explain you, I'm not talking much time on this. We as INCHAM, we have just signed MOU agreement with ESAN. ESAN is one of the high studies, it's basically all type of different MBAs, higher studies of Peru. Luckily, just last week we've signed this, so it'll be fantastic if we can, have another chat maybe early next week with Abhay and ESAN members. So I think the time is just right, and it's just perfect to start what you're planning at. And with the help of the ambassador and Mr. Tandon, I'm sure we'll get other universities also. That's all. We are the right track, and let's do it. Now is the time. And e-learning is going to be the best. Thank you very much for your fantastic information. So we are in with ESAN, yeah?
That's brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Before we move on, I'd like to kindly ask speakers to try to stick to the 5-minute timing per presentation. And to the public, please do ask questions. We're going to have time to address them. So next up, we've got Mr. Arturo Field for a presentation on the educational services in Peru. Mr. Field has been a teacher of English for the last 40 years and past president of the Peruvian Association for English Teachers, a position he held for 5 years. He's currently General Director at Camelot Teacher Training Center, an institution he founded 30 years ago. He has recently been elected a board member of the Lima Chamber of Commerce, representing the SMEs Guild, and in the past he's been president of the education sector of the Lima Chamber of Commerce for 8 years. So welcome, Mr. Field. You have the floor. You have to unmute your field.
Exactly.
Okay, excuse me for that. Welcome everybody. I would like to, I'm very honored to be with you today and try to share with you some of the information that I have been able to gather once I was asked to give this presentation. If I could share the screen, please. Let me see. Here we go, as I practiced. There we go. And there we go here. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay, is it okay then? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. First of all, the title of the presentation is Digital Education in Peru, Trends and Opportunity. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Phil, perhaps you could put it in full screen mode so people can...
yes, excuse me, there we are. There you
Thank
are.
you.
Okay, much better. Okay, so as I was saying, this is about digital education in Peru, trends and opportunities. First of all, as you know, and maybe you've heard, Peru is a country of enormous disparities. To your right, you have a boy who has everything on hand, a good laptop, good internet connection and everything. And on the left, you have other type of other kids around the country in rural areas where they sometimes, this is a very good place even. This is not exactly what we can find in the rural areas. Connections are not that very good, and most of them, as I will tell you later, use only smartphones. They don't even have laptops to work with, and sometimes they only have to use TV and other media. Then, having said this, I would tell you, I would like to make a little summary about the world after the beginning of the pandemic. As most of you know, COVID-19 has done the impossible. It has changed the way we teach and learn practically overnight. This is the first thing that happened. Again, throughout April 2020, more than 1.5 billion learners around the world were no longer able to sit in a classroom. Okay, then education systems have responded to this unprecedented challenge, speed, adaptability, and imagination, and Peru has not been an exception. Another thing is that learning has not ground to a halt, fortunately, but it has changed dramatically. And for me and for many others, we can go back to normal. The question is, how do we move forward? This is what we have to think about. Another thing, talking about Peru, is that Peru, before COVID-19, teaching in schools in Peru was 100% face-to-face, and this was according to law. Online teaching was not an option. I'm talking about schools, okay? Most of our students, around 80% of them, attended public schools, rural zone schools with very precarious infrastructure. Then we have also limited online coverage, despite some efforts that were done in previous governments, and Minedo's mindset goes towards building physical schools yet. Because Minedo, when I say Minedo, I'm talking about the Ministry of Education. For them, teaching online was not an option before COVID-19, as I said before, and everything was based on building physical schools. Then, another thing before COVID-19 was that enormous classrooms with sometimes 60 students or even more, teachers teaching 21st century students as they did in the 19th century. And we still have a lot of teaching done teacher-oriented, not student-oriented. Okay? Is when the teacher stands in front of the class and starts talking and talking and talking, and students just write down and write down and write down. That's what we're not looking for. We're looking for student-oriented. Something to highlight, though, is that some higher education institutions like ESAN, mentioned previously, had already moved toward a blended type of education. And in this level, it's a 50-50% teaching. Because what I mean here is that it doesn't have to be face-to-face. It can be 50% online and 50% face-to-face. Then, Peru's education system today. This is for you to have an idea. Talking about basic education, we have around 8 million students who are studying remotely. Our digital gap is enormous according to INAE. INAE is the Instituto Nacional de Estadística, which is something like a National Statistics Institute. And according to them, only 39.3% of our homes have access to the internet in the main cities. But if we check the rural areas, and this is something we have to change fast, it goes down to 4.8%. To solve this, Minedo decided, again, Minedo, the Ministry of Education, decided to buy 840,000 tablets for students in these areas and 97,000 more tablets for the teachers. Unfortunately, it took more than the time desired, and we are just starting to hand out these tablets to the students and to the teachers after maybe 5 or 6 or 7 months waiting. According to the Chief of Innovation and Technology of the Education Division of the Minedu, Digital tools and education resources, both online and offline, will be prepared or bought for the rural zones with little or no access to the internet, as I mentioned before. Another thing to have in mind is that here we have another challenge, which is that not all our teachers have been trained or know how to use technological tools. Another thing is we can have a person with a proper internet connection, but what if they lack the technological skills to use it? Okay, so Peru's government, through the Ministry of Education again, has been making enormous efforts to try to reach the least favored population through the use of other media, such as radio or TV. And finally, according to UNESCO, more than 1 billion students worldwide at all levels have been affected because of the closing of schools. Now, talking about higher education and moving fast, is at the beginning of the pandemic, 15% of the students' population has dropped out. And now, at the beginning of the second semester, it has already reached and gone beyond 35%. This is happening especially in sectors C and D. Default in the paying of tuition in university, even though you don't believe it, maybe it's happening in other countries too, has reached 50%. In case of technological institutes, it was at the beginning of around 30%, and now it's gone beyond 60%. Now, around 350,000 university and 250,000 institute students have stopped studying this semester. Specialists have forecasted that 500,000 students will stop studying, which means that our country will go back 10 years, which is very unfortunate for us. Now, after having said this, what are the opportunities? And as I always say, where challenges appear, new opportunities arise. What does our country need? Our country needs collaboration tools that will help institutions to keep in touch. What do I mean? Not only is it communication between teachers or among teachers, but also with their students and parents. Another interesting thing that we need is security tools for the educational portals, like not protected by passwords or other type of means. We also need a significant increase in internet bandwidth. Here we have a deficit of 14,000 base antenna stations, even though you don't believe it. We're growing, we're doing enormous efforts to overcome this, but yet it's a reality. And other opportunities, we have many. For example, e-learning platforms. We are using many of them, but we still need, so this is an enormous opportunity. Effective marking and assessment tools. One of the problems that teachers have is, how do I evaluate my students? How do I know that they are the ones who are taking the exams? We need a lot of assessment tools and effective marking. Machine learning, as has been mentioned before. Intelligent boards is another opportunity. Video conferences are on big demand. Something that's very interesting that I mentioned before is that in Peru, in public schools, most teachers, and when I say most, almost everybody, uses smartphones to give their classes, which doesn't happen in the private sector where we use laptops or other media. But in public schools, it's basically smartphones, so you can have an idea of how difficult it is for them to deliver their classes. Artificial intelligence is another one. Material development for all levels, as digital tools and others. And another thing that came to me is realia simulators, and especially for early education students, because one of the main concerns in Peru is, and that's why a lot of parents are not sending their kids to school or don't believe that education is really reaching the goal, is that how can you teach very young learners through laptops and e-learning platforms if they are not realia simulators or some type of a way to teach them games or things, or to make it a real education experience. And I think that's basically it. And final thoughts, I would say that the current global pandemic and its immediate aftermath have provided us with an enormous opportunity to rethink the why, the what, and how of education in Peru. Enormous opportunities, enormous collaboration that could happen. We should also start to rethink who is our education system supposed to serve. Is it meeting expectations? This is another big question. Another thing would be education systems are supposed to serve everyone. Indeed, education has traditionally been viewed as a great social leveler, providing opportunities for advancement regardless of one's social economic starting point. Unfortunately, that promise, never fully realized, is receding further and further to becoming a reality. The question and the big question in Peru today is, are we going back to our previous normality? Or are we finally going to understand that the world has changed and what we have to adapt if we want to excel as a developed country, in the future? This is what I would say about education in Peru. Many things to be done. As you said, for example, infrastructure also is a big opportunity. We still go for building schools and building different institutions, but I think that there are many things that can be done. Okay, so thank you. That's it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Lots of opportunities for educational services, both in India, for collaboration in India and Peru.
That's right.
We're really going to have to stick to the 5 minutes from now on.
I apologize.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you for that great presentation. Next up, we're going to start talking about healthcare services. First up in India. For this, we have Ms. Upasana Arora. She's director of the Yashoda Hospital Research and Center Limited. She has led the Yashoda Super Specialty Hospitals since 2000, and she's the first Indian to be awarded the prestigious Fellowship of the International Society for Quality and Accreditation. And she carries a vision to channelize Indian healthcare services in an ethical and cost-effective manner, with an emphasis of maximum international exposure and reversing the brain drain. Please, you have the floor, Ms. Aurora.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor for me that I am with you, all of you. Honorable Ambassador, good evening. So when we talk about Indian healthcare, so I am really proud of Indian doctors. As everybody knows that US and UK is running by Indian doctors. So I am really proud Indian who is having really good doctors in India as well as abroad. So when we talk about Peru and India collaboration, we must understand that Peru is also a very, very largest country. It is third largest in South America, and it's also developing country like India. Plus they are really historic civilization. Plus they have some ancient kind of treatment also, what I know. So we have so many things common. So what I feel, India and Peru, we can work together very, very, and we can change this world drastically. As I am heading SEPC Service Export Promotion Council, so we organized India Heals. And it was, we got really good response from other countries, but unfortunately that time we were not with, Peru was not there. So now we can maintain our relation with Peru. We can share our best practices. We can provide you doctors. We can provide you nurses. We can provide, telemedicine consultation, or we can, there are pharmaceutical also. So plus we can also learn from you. There are so many things which Peru can teach us. So in this manner, what I know that ministry is taking care of 60% of population in Peru for healthcare, and only 10% are looking after by the private sector. So we can do PPP model. We can do this thing that private and public partnership, or we can collaborate directly with the government or some private institutes. We need to do work together. Only then both the countries will fulfill their need of healthcare. and we can generate a different kind of relationship also, plus patient will be really happy because we are providing holistic healing kind of thing in India. So person who want to come for some surgeries, and after that we can provide them post-surgery different atmosphere through yoga, through meditation and different kind of things. So what I feel, Peru and India are having few things which are common. Plus biotechnology, in biotechnology you are quite doing very well in Peru, so we can also learn from you. So with togetherness, we can create a different healthcare world, because India was doing really good in medical tourism. But unfortunately, because of this corona, everything is just stopped. So most affected, only two industries, tourism and healthcare, because we were having lots of patients from all over the world to India, but now there is hardly anyone is coming because of traveling restrictions and lots of corona problem. But after some time, I think like India is providing 161 countries e-visa. So we can provide Peru also e-visa. So it will be very, very effective and easy for patient to reach India. So with this, I would like to stop, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Over to you, Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aurora. Next up, we've got a presentation on healthcare services, this time in Peru, by Mr. Jorge Antonio Heredia, Director of Next Medical. He is an engineer with an MBA, Master in Sciences, and PhD in Management, who has won several awards for his research in implementing competitive strategy and performance focus on tech-based innovation. He currently works in academic research, consulting, and he's focusing on developing new frameworks to evaluate innovation impact in firms' performance across a range of sectors. So please, Mr. Heredia, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you for all. Good morning and good night. That's okay. Can you hear me, Gabriel?
We can hear you well.
Thank you. And upload my presentation. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I can.
Gabriel?
Yeah, it looks good.
It's good?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Good? Thank you. Okay, thank you for all. Thank you for this invitation. My presentation is a new proposal about the how to analyze the future of ecosystem in healthcare, focus in emerging markets, but emerging market is very, very different from developed country. Okay, my name is Jorge Heredia. I am a professor at the Universidad del Pacífico in management, co-founder of this medical. Okay. First, the first approach to begin this analysis is necessary. Analyze what is the context and challenge in emerging markets for healthcare. Okay, we have a low quality of services in healthcare. The principal challenge for low quality is low access to service in healthcare, especially in rural areas. It's a more dramatic problem. Now, with the pandemics, this problem is increased, and this is a big challenge. How improve the access to the healthcare service and with quality with quality. Another problem is scarce resource in human resources and skills in technology. Specifically, for example, in artificial intelligence is low skill. We have a low professional quality you have almost 3 or 4 universities to form this professional, but in general, we don't have strong skills in artificial intelligence, for example. Another problem and challenge is lose the data in all the system. Okay, we have different the value chain in the healthcare in Peru. I think it is similar in other countries in Latin America. Have a not connected value chain in the service. Okay, we had a primary healthcare service is not connected with the specialties healthcare service. Okay, we have a different points of healthcare service in different area, in rural and non-rural area, but it's not connected. All the data is lost. Okay, this is a big challenge because we don't have specific data for the whole ecosystem in the healthcare. We can't analyze, we can't detect, we can't improve the system, but we can measure what is the performance in the system. Right? This is a big challenge. How improve the data and how improve the connect or to get quality data in real time to detect what is the specific problems in the healthcare system, for example, in Peru. Okay, another problem challenge is low level of quality or investment or in health care by person. Okay, this is a big challenge, but another big challenge, but it's similar in other countries. We have low levels of investment in emerging market in comparison with a developed country. But the challenge in this point is how improve the resource allocation very good. Okay, how you can developing a new model to improve the resource allocation, because we don't have enough money to invest in the healthcare. The idea is how improve to optimize this resource allocation in emerging markets. Okay, another challenge is the rise of the chronic disease. Okay, the chronic disease is another challenge in emerging market, because the government, the policy in the healthcare invest many money every year, but the chronic disease not reduce and not increase. What is the problem? Where is the specific cause or problem to increase or to avoid this, detect the principal problem to reduce the chronic disease in this moment. Okay, and this is another problem, because chronic disease impact in all the activities in the people, reduce the quality the labor and another mark and any mark points. Okay, to resolve or one proposal to attend this challenge is Next Medical. Next Medical now is a transaction platform, the telemedicine, to connect the people, the patients, with different doctors, with different specialties around Peru in different moments in different areas in Peru to access, increase the access the healthcare service, and not only with the primary healthcare, and we can we can provide the specialties in the telemedicine. Is a big challenge because the specialties need the different equipment. For example, remote patient monitoring to increase the quality, the telemedicine attention in specialties. For example, neurologic and neurologics by telemedicine. This is a big challenge because it's not only to connect by Zoom or by another platform. The idea is improve the diagnosis with a remote patient monitoring with different equipment to connect to get the data, the vital signal to test and to control in real time patients in different moments in different locations around the world, in specific in Peru. But we are going to front the transaction telemedicine platform to innovation platform. We are implementing different innovation in the telemedicine using artificial intelligence. Now we are going to develop new products to connect our ecosystem platform to access more quickly and more fast and low cost free to increase the self-care in the patients using for telemedicine platform. We are developing, for example, a new next medical chatbot using natural process language generation for mental health care. You can test this chatbot in our platform in Next Medical.
Excuse me, Mr. Heredia. I'm going to have to ask you to start wrapping up just because of the timing, please.
Thank you. What? It's 1 second, please. Only for present that this chatbot is a few minutes, please. This chatbot is a new system to connect every people for free to detect what is the level of the depression or another problem, to detect early any problems in healthcare, in mental health. Okay. Yes. Wait. Quickly, please. What is the new vision? The new vision on Next Medical ecosystem. The idea is go to the transaction platform, to the innovation platform, and combine the transaction and innovation to connect this ecosystem, the producer, in the consumers, in the healthcare, connected by Next Medical. Next Medical, the new vision is a hybrid platform to combine transaction and innovation platform and use artificial intelligence skills. The idea is we are exploring the collaboration with the different business and sectors in India to improve and to develop this new ecosystem in healthcare. Thank you for this time and welcome for any question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heredia. As Vice President of the Instituto del Futuro, Futures Institute here in Peru, it's always nice to see a presentation focused on the future of healthcare in the country. Next up, we've got Mr. Enrique Mesones, who is Chief Coordinating Officer of Apesoft. He's going to be talking about the synergies between India and Peru in the services sector. I have had the chance to meet with him and see the very promising results of his work in digital firsthand. So it is truly very impressive. I'm just going to let him speak for himself. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Gabriel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. I'm Enrique Mesones. I work as a Chief Connection Officer for APESoft, which is the Peruvian Association for Software and Technology. And also I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the co-founder of We2Video. We2Video is the next generation of intelligent, immersive, and interactive solutions. And we're building actually very innovative solutions, to build the new digital economy. We're introducing solutions not only in education, but in the healthcare industries, in smart cities, in entertainment. And today, actually, I want to introduce a very innovative solution that is growing and expanding rapidly across the world. We call it interactive OTT for over the top and never watch content alone. So what you are going to see right now in your screens is basically, we call it, never watch movies alone. This is an opportunity actually for Bollywood to introduce
product, especially for the increasing digitalization of entertainment and services. Before we move on to questions, we're going to have some words from Ms. Sanjita Saxena, who is Additional Economic Advisor for the Department of Commerce and Industry of India. So please, Ms. Saxena, go ahead. You have the floor. I'm sorry, Ms. Saxena, can you unmute yourself, please, if you're here? It seems Ms. Saxena, we're going to have to move on to the questions now. No worries. So we only have a brief time to make a few questions, so we're going to please ask the speakers to keep their answers short, only a minute per answer. So first up, we'd like to ask Dr. Deckard. Well, Mr. Field mentioned many opportunities for the digitalization of education in Peru. What do you think are the largest opportunities here for synergies in educational technology and digitalization?
So you want me to answer this question?
Yes, please.
So I think what Mr. Field spoke about, the challenges are the same in India as well. We also have a population that doesn't have access to internet. Though of course the government is trying its level best, and therefore the picture that you showed us where you have a student who is using all the kind of smart technology, laptop, etc. and studying, and on the other hand you have students who are probably just watching television and studying. That's exactly the same in India as well. So I think at least the ecosystem is similar, and therefore I think if we can come together and find again, as I've said earlier, some solution to this problem, which is of similar nature. So I think it's institutions and actually faculty who can come together, and even governments. When we talk about digital education, I think the biggest challenge is access. And we want this education to reach to the last child, and how does it reach is a big challenge in India. Though they have, now started channels on television, but typically televisions are used for entertainment and not for education. The mindset of people is that, you watch a television for entertainment and not really to educate your kids. And therefore, I don't think really television would serve the purpose as what, the government is thinking. But nevertheless, that's the best way they could do it. But, we should come together and collaborate on finding a solution to this problem, which is common in both.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Mr. Field, where do you see the Peruvian education sector going in the next few years now that we're experiencing so many changes?
Okay, thank you for the question. As I said, I've been gathering with a lot of people in the education sector. And one of the main things is in the private sector, we don't want to go back to normality as it was. inside a classroom, everything. We want to go for minimum a blended education. In the case of public schools, the tendency, even from the Ministry of Education, is basically going back to normal education. Because it's going back to the classroom, and even though trying to use some digital tools and everything, but those are the difference in tendencies. We're trying to articulate with the public sector to see in what ways we can work together and help our country, no? But yeah, those are both tendencies, yes, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now some questions on the healthcare sector. Ms. Aurora, what do you think are the biggest opportunities for digital health and telemedicine in collaboration between India and Peru?
Yeah, actually, it's a big opportunity, because if we will apply, like in India, we are trying to do digital health in a very forcefully. We are trying to do, because everybody is not ready to go for digitization, but still now our Prime Minister has a vision that he wants a digital India and digital healthcare. So it is really very helpful for everyone, for even patient and as well as doctors and health executives. So if you are going anywhere and you want to visit a hospital, you need not to carry your papers, everything is just a one click away. You can reach anywhere and your all health record is there. So it is really helpful for everyone. Same time, it will time saving also, space saving also. Everything is in your computer or on a cloud. You need not to keep lots of paper in a big hall or somewhere. So it is really helpful. So it is a big opportunity, and I think Peru and India both should apply this, and we should go for 100% digitization of healthcare records. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Mr. Heredia, I'd like to actually ask the same question to you. You mentioned, you talked about telemedicine, but I'd like to ask you more broadly about the opportunities for digital health between India and Peru.
Okay, Gerardo? Gabriel?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we are exploring now with a specific company in India to implement the telemedicine system, and we are analyzing the possibility to apply the similar business model from the telemedicine in India in Peru. For example, combine the telemedicine in India, the system with a primary healthcare service using remote patient monitoring inside in primary healthcare sector. We are exploring this collaboration with enterprise in India to replicate the similar good model to primary healthcare sector. The big challenge now is the COVID-19, okay? Because the business model or the healthcare telemedicine model in India is in person. Is a blended. For example, combine remote patient monitoring with the doctor is outside the system. But the people go to the specific location and face to face to get to take, for example, the blood pressure to the patients and to connect with physician outside. The principal challenge is how with COVID-19 is get the patient monitoring directly, not without contact the people. For example, to get the blood pressure. This is the big challenge now. The idea is to go to the next model for healthcare with the patient is have a specific, for example, equipment in your house, and get directly the big data signals to the hospital directly is not without contact, because the COVID-19 is a principal limitation. We are working in this direction. We have a new fit plan that or smart fit to connect directly to the patients in your house with the doctor to remote patient monitoring. The idea is to work and combine the good experience in the India healthcare with and to adapt to the context in Peru, for example. We are working in this point. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. May I just come in 1 minute, please? Ms. Saxena is back on this thing. Gabrielle, can you request her to speak?
Certainly.
Ms. Saxena.
Ms. Saxena, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you. Sorry, I lost connectivity for a short while in between. I have been listening to all the discussions this evening, and very interesting insights into the opportunities which arise on both sides. And we're happy that SEPC and INCHAM have come together to organize this interaction, and I'm sure both the parties will be benefiting immensely from it. I just have a few quick points to make, and also which I would like to ask the Peruvian side. One first point I would like to make is about the language. Considering India is English and many are language-speaking country, and Spanish is the dominant language in Peru. How do we see the two sides connecting as far as language is concerned? I also thought India has a lot of potential in English language teachers, and these classes be conducted online, where English language teachers in India can do these classes for the Peruvians. So that is something which perhaps both sides can explore. And likewise, India also would need Spanish language teachers, and what better than to have the Peruvians to teach us. That is something which I would urge SEPC and INCHAM to. Secondly, I saw great interest the Peruvian presentation on education and the challenges that are there and how they are being overcome. We talked about holding the interest of the students, and that's where I come what Ms. Rao said about the audiovisual sector. I would expand that to gaming and the AV sector, and there can be it has the advantage of creating quality audiovisual content at very reasonable prices. So why can we not think of exploring content which is made for the students at whatever levels, whether it is at the school level, at the at higher levels, and which can hold the content of hold the interest of the children, and this can be contextualized in the case of the Peruvian culture and other things. So there's an opportunity for the sector also to some challenges which the education sector is facing. I also mentioned in the health presentation by Peruvian side, I mentioned about data. You do not have the data which puts together, and you're able to build that. Perhaps again, here I request SEPC if you can also face with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which has put together very elaborate data set for the health sector here in India, including the number of professionals across various categories, and it's a huge data set. And perhaps if we can have some kind of cooperation between the Ministry of Health in India and the Peruvian counterpart, that will be again a win-win situation for both the countries. So those are my quick comments. Just one question which I wanted to ask the Peruvian side, that does the Peruvian law allow the foreign teachers who are situated in another country teach online? Or is there any restriction in the autonomous regime, or is it that something the teachers, and this I'm talking teachers at all levels, whether it is school or secondary education or at the college and higher education. Thank you so much.
Maybe Arturo, you want to reply?
Sorry, you have to unmute yourself, Arturo.
I have no problem to answer. The thing is, it was a little bit like cut. I couldn't understand exactly the question.
Okay, I'll repeat the question.
Yeah.
I want to know, is there any law or any regulation in Peru which prohibits Indian teachers or foreign teachers teach for their schools, for their schools, in their higher level institutions of education? So what I'm to say is that I'm a school teacher here in India, and can I be allowed to teach Peru schools through the online method? That's what I want to ask.
Okay. To give you an idea, as far as I know, even for Peruvians to teach in a public school, you need a degree in education, number one. Then we've gone through a process of, we had 33 universities some years ago, then we went to 143 approximately, and then now we're back down to 100 or a little bit more, based on a system of rechecking the licenses and everything in universities. As far as I know, teaching online has no limitation at all. I don't know if it would be possible in public schools. I would have to check. In private schools, I don't see a problem. The only thing they are requiring now is to have a degree in education, as I said. For example, I've been a teacher of English for almost 40 years. And in my case, at the beginning, I didn't have a degree in English. I only spoke English because I went to an American school here in Peru, okay? But then, after some years, you were like forced to get a degree in education if you wanted to teach in a public school, in a university, or in a private school. So that has changed a little bit. In the past, for example, if an American came or an English citizen came here and he wanted to teach in a school, he could, only because he spoke English or he had a TEFL degree or a TESOL degree. But that is changing a little bit. That's changing a little bit here in Peru. We're looking for quality delivery in the classrooms. But I think there's no limitation at all. I don't think so. I would have to check to come with a better answer, maybe.
Okay, that's something we would be interested in knowing. Also, would Indian degrees, teachers who have degrees in India, will those degrees be recognized by Peruvian authorities?
As I said, some years ago, not many years ago, maybe 3 or 4, a little bit more, if you had a degree, for example, from Harvard or other of these type of universities, it was not accepted in Peru. It was Harvard degree, yes, but it was not recognized by the institution in charge of that. But I think that has changed. I could come with a better answer for you. I think now they are accepted. They just go through a process, but they are accepted now. If there is a treaty, an international treaty between countries, you have to have that in mind. There has to be an agreement. If there is no international treaty, no way. But as I said, even if you came from a Harvard University or Yale or whatever with a degree and you say, yeah, I have this, please accept it, they said no. But now they do. Now they do, I think. Now they do. Yeah, things have changed a little bit here.
Thank you so much for that insight. And so what I can then request SEPC and INCHAM to work together in trying to recognize what will be the mechanism for the mutual recognition degrees. Sorry, Dr. Vidya, you wanted to come in?
I can help.
Yes, so I come in here, ma'am, that, even in our country, the education degree is required for school teaching in schools, K-12 school. Whereas in a higher education sector, which is colleges and universities, you require a PhD. Okay, so
yes.
So if someone is teaching at a tertiary education, which is in colleges and universities, they require a PhD, and I'm sure such faculty members would be allowed to teach online to higher education institutions in Peruvian universities.
Yes, the same thing here. You need a master degree or a PhD if you want to teach in universities like ESAN, as was mentioned at the beginning, ESAN, Católica, Lima, all these universities. Mm-hmm. You do need a master degree or a PhD in some cases. Yes.
Yes. I think one very important point that I had missed out and Madam Saxena ji has raised is about language education. This is something that we really need to look at, because English is something, that Indians can actually teach, and we have a lot of English language teachers. And Spanish is one of the most favorite languages of students. I mean, I think next to German. In our university, in Symbiosis International University, we have a Symbiosis School of Foreign Languages. And the most popular language that students want to learn, the first one, of course, is German. But the second most popular is Spanish, and it's so difficult to get Spanish teachers. In the city of Pune, we have just one formal teacher who can teach Spanish. So you can imagine, if you all open up for, teachers who can be teaching Spanish, and we can do it online. I mean, that would be something to begin with.
So, I wish to say something. Like when we talk about healthcare, India has the largest pool of doctors who are English speaking. So it can be helpful in every country, and I really looking forward to have a tie up with some treaty between Peru and India. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Coming back to Gabriel, if I can just add, though I'm again, trespassing from education to healthcare, but being a doctor, I just want to add something. Telemedicine is something that India is looking at, especially post-COVID. And we have a Symbiosis University Hospital, and we've adopted about 22 villages around our university campus. And we've just begun with telemedicine, but we don't know the medico-legal aspects in India. So, we would really like to study how telemedicine works in Peru, if it is working well. And maybe we can adopt some of the best practices of this telemedicine that is working well in Peru, in some of our regions at least. And especially post-COVID, I think that's something that is so very relevant. So that's an area that we would like to explore.
Mm-hmm. So just taking from what Dr. Vidya said, I think one of the actionable points of the evening would be that if both sides work on the language aspects, language instruction, and try to find out in what way can deepen this cooperation, and that is something which is again something which is written on both sides. As Dr. Vidya very rightly said, if there's only one Spanish teacher in a huge cosmopolitan city like Pune, where you have so many foreign students coming there, I think there's a dire need of more Spanish teachers in India, and I'm sure likewise for the English teachers in Peru. Thank you.
We could only a little comment, Gabriel, a little comment as to English teaching. That would be of great help, because based on some surveys that were made some years ago, most of our public school teachers have yet a very low level of English. If you go to the Common European Framework, we find that A1 or A2 level, which is the big chunk, if you want to call it, or the bulk of the teachers, right? Which is, there are a lot of efforts to try to overcome this in Peru. As to coming together with Spanish teaching teachers here through online teaching, I think that wouldn't be a problem at all. We could help with that. And as to getting you in contact with English teachers, I'm open to help. I've been in this field for more than 40 years, and I've been the president of 2 of the 3 associations in this country. So we can help you with that. And if it's in benefit of both countries, much better, much better. Oh yes, for sure. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Field, and thank you to all the speakers for this very lively discussion. Certainly, a lot of opportunities for synergies between India and Peru are becoming very clear through this discussion. You certainly make it much easier to moderate a panel. Just a comment. Degree recognition is mentioned. In Peru, we have the Higher Education National Superintendency, SUNEDU, which has a process for recognizing international degrees. So this is probably the avenue people will have to pursue for this. And well, thank you very much, everyone, for this discussion. Before we finish, we're going to have some closing remarks. We're going to have some closing remarks from the chairman of the Services Expert Promotion Council, Mr. Davar. Mr. Davar, if you want to go ahead, please.
So one last request. I'm sorry, I'm intruding in. I would request the Indian Embassy in Peru to actually promote Indian higher education. Indian embassies need to really do that, and that's where actually Peruvian students will want to come to India, at least for short-term programs. So these kind of promotional activities, of course, through SEPC we will be doing, but where we would require the help of Indian embassy. So, I mean, my request to the Indian ambassador is that, this is something that we are very, very keen in doing through SEPC.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick in my comments. His Excellency the Ambassador, first of all, thank you very much. It was an excellent interaction and really opened my eyes personally to the opportunities which are there between our two countries. And what we really need to do is use technology to reach this. We would have to look at the rules and regulations as far as Peru is concerned and our rules and regulations and see how we can reach out and make it a partnership which will be for mutual benefit. One other thing which I can say is that in India we have seen a huge revolution as far as smartphone technology is concerned. So even in the deep interiors, there is penetration. And considering the size of the population that we have and the size of the country that we have, there is, and I must commend the government on the initiative which it has taken over a number of years to ensure this sort of connectivity, which is most important for us in spread of both education as well as healthcare. And we have to look at technology again to take forth both in terms of telemedicine, both in terms of online education. In India, we have so many tech startups which concentrate on education, education right from primary level to to graduate level. So it has been a great interaction, and I must request Mr. Rao, and I will also request Mr. Sinha to take this forward and make a small report on this, circulate it to all the participants, send it to Peru, and if you can circulate it to all your members, and let this be the beginning of a fruitful partnership between our two nations and its people. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Ambassador, you have an intervention to make, a comment.
Yeah. Gabriel, can I get 1 minute, please?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted, of course, I would like to reciprocate the sentiments of our chairman, SEPC, and it has been wonderful, conversation, interactive session. And just before proceeding, I just wanted to respond to Dr. Vidya's last comments. There has been, interaction in educational sector between Peru and India, but most of it has been happening in essentially cultural and basically culture and tradition, etc., because there are students who go to India to learn dance, Ayurveda, yoga, these disciplines. And there are also students going to some universities to do university education, but not in health, higher education. So there is scope for improvement, but under ICCR sponsored scholarships and also some ITech schemes, we have been getting students traveling from Peru to India. And but there is, of course, scope for further improving the student exchanges. That's what I mentioned in my remarks, that we do have institutional framework in the form of exchange program, educational exchange program, wherein students can go to India. Of course, language is playing a role in this besides the distance, but every year we have some students from Peru going to India. Similarly, Indian students have been coming here. For example, Indian Institute of Management Indore sent a group of students for an attachment for a month. So I would like to see that our institutions in India take special interest, share information where the opportunities are with the embassy so that we can disseminate that information. We've been trying to do on our own to encourage students to visit India, and there is huge scope. Now, overall what I notice is that there are common experiences, challenges that one can benefit by interacting with each other. And I would see many suggestions during the course of last 1.5 hours. And, several aspects. Language is one aspect where, of course, the Indian, the English and Foreign Languages University in Hyderabad has been providing English training programs for Peruvian students. They do go there and learn. When I said 450 Peruvians have so far undergone training in India, majority of that would be from FLU and in English language. And I myself visited this university, special university, wherein they teach Spanish. They have excellent faculty, and there are many students in that university. Possibly one way of overcoming the challenges in Pune is to get in touch with the FLU. I'm sure their Vice Chancellor is very proactive and they can extend help. I would also like to encourage our friends from Peru to use Indian Embassy in Lima. Send your suggestions, your ideas, your proposals to us. We are with you, as I mentioned. We would certainly try and see how we can make the match so that we can together work. Of course, INCHAM and SEPC, they are there to help us to act as an interface and take forward our collaboration. I would like to once again thank all of you for your time and taking, giving us these valuable suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kindly don't forget also my request from you that we will also send healthcare. Also want to tie up with Peru, so I will send you a proposal. So kindly consider it also. Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
His Excellency, could you please share your contact details so that we can write to you?
Yes, we will certainly share. My colleague Sanjeev Tandon will be sending you the details. Sure, we will do. Maybe we will. We already shared our contact details with SEPC, but you can. And also, the best way to know us is to visit our website.
Okay.
Just to Google Indian Embassy in Lima, you will get all the email addresses and contact numbers.
Yeah. Nice, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's really been a great discussion.
Excellency. Excellency. Sir, I'm Dr. Kavar from India. I have one question, a small question, I'm sorry. With your permission, can I?
Please go ahead.
Excellency, I'm Dr. Kavar from India. My question is, what is the scope of orphan or unlicensed medicine in India as well as Peru?
Ambassador, can I reply this?
Yeah, please. Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Khalsa, I'm Rohit Rao. We are in pharma industry since almost 30 years. Yes, there is a huge opportunity for orphan drugs. Yes, the local authority, the Khemid, gives fast track registration to get any of these orphan drugs. So as Mr. Ambassador said, please you can write to Mr. Tandon and Mr. Tandon will get back to us as INCHAM and we can give you all the details that you need. What are the orphan drugs available and needed so you can start working it from India. Thank you. Sorry, Ambassador, just to quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you certainly need approval from DHMED, the regulator, but we can certainly facilitate. So please do send to us the details.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now we really are finishing up the webinar. It's really been a great discussion, lots of opportunities for synergies between India and Peru in these sectors. I invite everyone to engage with the resources that have been mentioned and with your counterparts, be it in India or Peru. And lastly, I'd just like to thank everyone, both the speakers, the organizers, and our guests here today. Thank you, everyone. And with this, we conclude our discussion today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for the invitation.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Let's keep in touch. Yes.